like a spare battery or bigger generator or alternator or something?
What do you mean?
Here for all your stuff?
Oh, I use little batteries. I don't.
So it doesn't draw. Oh,
it hardly draws any. I mean, I got a battery on the camera, little batteries on those GoPros. It all works out. As long as I got an extra battery, I'm in good shape.
Oh, so they're independent.
Yeah, they're independent from each other. Oh, yeah, there's nothing being switched or nothing attached to the vehicle at all.
There's a funky-looking jet. You see that thing?
Yeah.
That might be the Cirrus jet. I'm not sure.
Cirrus?
Cirrus.
Oh, that's the name of it?
Yeah, the Cirrus is an airplane that has a parachute built in.
Oh, man, that is so cool. I hope we can go near it. Where do I drive in?
Go down, out to the street, make a left, and then back in again.
All right. So a lot going on?
Yeah.
A lot going on, huh?
Everybody
You know what? You came and talked about you lost
Retrix.
Yeah. And you had to come in and at the meeting and say, listen, let's get this thing straight.
Well, yeah. I mean, unfortunately it's just not a viable route for an airplane.
But don't they give us a good amount of money? I mean, that's a pretty good payday, isn't it, for the town?
For Retrix?
Yeah.
This year we'll lose about 80,000. Next year it's about 150.
You don't see anybody else taking their place?
Not in the immediate future. Again, it's a very difficult route to do economically. Once we get in here, I just got to take a look through the back.
Oh, sure. Yep. Security. I was over here the other day, and they were looking for TSA agents.
Oh,
they were taking applications, but there was nobody here.
I'll tell you what.
They tried to get me to
TSA does a great job. We met with them last year. We're going to do it again this year. So we meet with them in the winter and go through with them and the airlines and go through a plan for the summer. And last year we went up to Boston. They committed to a number of things, including additional personnel, different maintenance schedules, everything.
Yep.
We committed to putting up the tents. Just pull up to the left of him.
Okay.
Be off this sensor, and then I'll take a look in the back real quick.
All right. Yep.
Can I open the side door?
Oh yeah. All open.
Do you want a portable so we can run up and grab mine?
All right, thanks. Yeah, just gonna go do that. I'll meet you up there.
How you doing? Good. You're going to be our escort? Love it.
All pressure's on.
Keep it under 20.
He's going to grab a radio so we can communicate.
Okay, good.
So we do a lot of pre-planning for the season with TSA and the airlines.
Go right up over there.
Yeah, you can come right up.
What is this anyway?
This is the rack for our fuel, where the large tankers come in. They load up our farm, and then our trucks come in here, and we load the trucks so that we can put it in the... You might want to stay here one second.
This is cool.
Because this is part of a major capital project we have. We're redoing the fire suppression system here, and you can see...
that's what all this is above us.
Yep, all that's fire suppression.
Got it.
And we have some over top of the tanks as well. We're replacing the piping, which is just old and, it needs to be replaced, so we're going with stainless steel. We're also replacing these cabinets and the pumps, and we want redundancy. We had one issue a few years ago on 4th of July weekend where we lost a little tiny piece, shut us down. So we want redundancy. We want to be able to continue to pump, because this is...
And under here is just in case it
This is
spills.
the catch, yeah, any spills or anything else. Yep.
Do you spill a lot?
Big basin. No.
I mean, is it very rarely?
Very rarely. And we have a spill response plan and everything, so...
Hey, that plane left.
No.
That's it?
That's it.
So let me just get a quick shot of that.
Sure.
And you tell me, does it really look like one of those kind of planes?
I'm not... I'll have to double check. It might be a...
What's it called?
Cirrus.
Cirrus. And it has a parachute.
If that's a Cirrus jet.
That's a jet, too.
Yeah, it's a jet on top of that.
Look how tiny it is.
Yeah. It's funny.
That thing will go like 300, 400 miles an hour?
Yeah, about 300 miles an hour.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
What's something like that cost?
I couldn't even fathom a guess.
Are they that popular right now?
They're becoming very popular, yeah. There's some unique, different
There's
types.
so much to talk to you about. I have so many questions. Okay.
Do you want to talk over company or airport emergency, or? I'm on company now.
We'll stay on that. Airport 1? Okay.
Where to first?
Let's head down and do an echo run from 6 up down towards 2-4.
Okay, so go down Echo and then 180.
Yeah.
awesome.
You'll see as we go too.
Yeah.
The aircraft parking areas here, the aprons, we need to get to those as well.
This entire area needs to, I mean, you can see.
You can see where the
see it.
crack ceiling,
It's
the
all
state
cracked
came
up.
out about 5 years ago, put in the crack ceiling and extended the life, but
Okay.
we really need to start.
Are we going to completely repave it?
Ultimately, yes, but this is not, in the near future
Okay.
because we have key priorities working from the runway in, runway and taxiway.
We're going to see those.
Yeah, you'll see taxiway Echo.
Okay.
We'll just follow him.
Yep.
But as you know, in the summer, this entire ramp is filled with airplanes.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, this is what the airport has become, Tom. It's a summertime experience.
It is, and we're working with the airlines to extend that season too. I call it wedding season in the fall and sometimes in spring as well. Ultimately, I'd love to have better connectivity to the national system.
Let me ask you something, about kind of a personal question. Do you feel any responsibility for why the airport? I mean, it's not really your job to market the airport, is it?
It is,
Because it's kind of like just people all talk about.
You either have a market or you don't, and the airlines typically know that. However, what we have to do is we have to inform them of things they don't know. So NOAA has been going, I've done it for years, and now NOAA's been doing it the past few years, to these meetings with airlines. We call them speed dating with airlines. You get 20 minutes to give your pitch, and they always tell you, tell me something I don't know. They have all the economic data, all the census data, everything that's public they have. So we've been working with the Nantucket data platform to get some real mobility data, and it's been very helpful. It helped us in our argument for Philadelphia service with American, because they didn't know the information. They don't know how many people are coming here by boat from these different regions. So we're working with them to give the airlines the data that they don't have to market ourselves.
Now, let me stop you for a second. On the other hand, some people might say that we don't need any more people on Nantucket in the summertime. If you look around and you see, we're pretty chock-a-block full.
But if you also look at the economics of it, I believe the value of each passenger is over $1,100.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the state did an economic impact study, and it's significant money.
$1,100 per person.
Yeah.
Per how many days though?
That's for each person coming in. Now, so JetBlue is adding another flight next summer. That's 100 seats. You assume 80% load factor. That's 80 people per day coming in times 1,100. That's some significant money. Now they're going to be up to 11 flights, so they're carrying a lot of people and feeding the economy here. And these people don't bring cars, which is different from a lot of the other modes. So,
all right.
They're not a big burden, if you will, on some of the infrastructure.
Like getting back to that initial.
Go with them. Yeah.
Going with that question though, as far as you feeling responsible. Do you?
Yeah, I live here.
Yeah.
I feel the same pains that everybody else does in the summer with the traffic and everything else, and I wish we had better service in the winter so we can get to and from at a reasonable price. We're the airport, but we try our best to at least make the airlines aware and make our case for whatever it is that we think is needed. Again, I live here. I experience the same thing.
You've been here how long now?
8 years. So this is the taxiway that we're going to be replacing.
Okay.
And again, you can see all the cracks. Some of them are quite deep. We had one of our maintenance folks say, we put the crack seal in here and it comes out in Nantucket. But this is going to be about a $17 million project to rehab this. Wow. And part of it is, one, it's age. It's 40 years old or whatever. But in addition, the aircraft that are coming in now, especially the corporate, are bigger than it was designed for. JetBlue is a bigger airplane, and they're going to be bringing a bigger one in the next couple of years. So it's not designed for the weight that it's experiencing, and it's just old, so we need to replace it. Okay. The same is true with our runway. Now the runway, that's got another few years on it in terms of its condition, but we're beginning to program that so that within the next probably 3 years we'll begin reconstruction of that. One of the big challenges is, as we go down the other end, you'll see the runway and taxiway are different elevations. And so either the runway has to come up or the taxiway has to come down. So we're leaving the taxiway as is, and when we do the runway, we'll probably elevate that, or we will ask for what's called a modification of standards.
Okay. So when we do this will last another 40 years, most likely?
Hopefully 40. Useful life usually for this is between 15 and 20.
Are we seeing an increase in traffic in the summertime?
Believe it or not, the number of operations has gone down.
Okay.
But the passengers have gone up.
Right.
So we see a larger fleet in the commercial side, and we also see a larger fleet on the corporate side. Less flights, but bigger airplanes.
Oh, I see.
Much bigger airplanes.
So is this small jet kind of, like that jet we just saw, that person is not using the airport as often?
Well, it's an interesting phenomenon. We're seeing some of those in the private side grow a little bit, but the larger corporate jets are getting bigger. And not as many operations, like I said, but certainly big airplanes. You can see all this.
Yeah. Oh.
We have crack seal everywhere.
This is the area where the jets are in holding.
This is what's called a run-up area.
I haven't requested the 180 yet, so just let me know when you want to proceed.
Okay, just give us a second. So typically, this is where they would pull off, do their run-up like Cape Air, whoever, and then line up. But it's also used in the summer, especially when we're very busy and there's a line, and the third airplane or the first airplane may not have its clearance, let's say to New York because it's too busy. So they'll pull in here so the others can pass them that are ready to go.
Got it.
What we've been using it for, that's not the best and highest in design use, is for parking airplanes. We'll put 4 large jets down here, corporate jets, in the summer because we just don't have the room. So eventually we have a plan for a South Apron expansion, but that's probably at least 5 years off.
I see. That would be in this area?
It'll be, I'll show you when we go back.
Oh, okay.
It'll be on the left as we go back. We'll put it down there now. All right, Noah, we're ready.
What's Noah's job?
Technically, his title is Assistant Airport Manager.
Okay.
He does everything.
Yeah, good for. Yeah, it's nice having somebody that you can count on like that.
He pursued and received his accreditation within the past year or so, which is the highest level you can get in terms of airport management skills and things. And so he coordinates a number of issues here. He started out as the environmental coordinator. And
I remember
that's his background. He's an environmental scientist, but he has picked up, and like I said, he's got certifications and accreditations, everything else.
So how many flights are we? This time of year, it's the winter. What are we? How many flights a day are we?
Scheduled flights?
Yeah.
We'll probably see 8 to 10, I think.
And those are Cape Air.
More. Yeah.
Those are pretty much Cape Air now.
It's all Cape Air.
All Cape
scheduled,
Air.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's between Hyannis and Boston. So it's.
Okay.
Hyannis is still a challenging market, even for Cape Air. It's, as I said, economically for an airplane, planes are not designed to do that short of a haul. So it's a tough.
But in the old days, remember?
Well,
it was
part of it.
Everybody flew.
You have to understand too, though. A big part of it is they're flying over here because they have to get the airplanes here in order to fly them to Boston because they're based over here.
Yeah, right.
Hyannis. So yeah. And historically, costs were a lot cheaper, I guess, but our costs haven't gone up that much at all. In fact, we have a very significant incentive program for Hyannis service.
They built their airport. They redid their airport. It's like we built ours at the peak, and
they're very reliant on our service.
They are.
In the summer, though, this baffles me. They're still only at 1 JetBlue flight a day, and we will have 11 plus American United and Delta.
Wow.
So our season here is enormously busier than the Hyannis air service was.
Okay.
So the expansion that we would do eventually is off to the left here, and we would try to leave as many trees and possibly put in a berm there for some noise.
I see. Just to extend that, the end of that one further.
Yeah, the master plan has it as a full depth, just as we have there, but we're looking at a much narrower piece of property to try to mitigate some of that noise and things and leave a buffer.
Yeah, right.
But we've been parking airplanes on the crosswind runway, and that's not a safe thing, and the FAA told us, no, we want you to do this project sooner rather than later.
So now, as far as these projects go, and the amount of money that we can, is the town going to take that?
No, the airport does, and the majority of it's FAA. So this project, the taxiway, is about a $17 million. What happened in the past, I believe it's 2 years, there's been almost $2 billion, I think it's $1.9 billion, that has been put into infrastructure in addition to the normal funding that we would get. We were unable to take advantage of those because we weren't shovel ready, if you will. So we're using the trickle-down theory, though, because the $1.9 billion was put into other discretionary for other airports throughout the country. The normal discretionary money should become free, and that's where our regional FAA said they're going to fight for as much as they can to get us the money because they realize the need. So this type of project will be funded 90% by the FAA, 5% by the state, and then 5% by the airport.
Got it. Are you a pilot?
No.
No. Okay. No interest. Never had a real.
I've had some interest. I do a lot of flying with friends in their airplanes and things, but just haven't had the bug to take the test or anything. So.
Got it.
I tell them, I said, I'll guarantee you that it'll be safe wherever you land. Okay.
Yeah. I'd rather have somebody else take care of that. Leave it up to them instead of me. It's
fun though.
I would think it would be a little bit of stressful. I'd be kind of stressed out in the air.
We're starting.
What if I make one mistake?
Well, that's you get your confidence level up, and
I guess so.
That's why they have redundant systems and things. But
that's true.
We're seeing some growth in folks getting their licenses here. Some local people bought an airplane. They have it in the hangar up here. There's some ground school going on.
There is here?
Yeah, there's
good.
It's great
it's
stuff.
Like community school, ground school kind of thing?
It's just a local fellow doing some ground school. And like I said, they chipped in, they bought an airplane. There's some others that have upgraded their airplanes. So, yeah,
that's fantastic to hear. You know, technology's changing so quickly, and we do have to, we do have the carbon footprint that we're causing. What are you hearing? What's on the horizon as far as?
Are you familiar with the term eVTOL?
No, I'm not.
It's electric vertical takeoff and landing. So there are currently vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. The military's had them for years, the Harrier jet and things. They take off like a helicopter, fly like an airplane, land like a helicopter.
Yeah.
The new technology is the same, only with electric motors. And it is gaining momentum rapidly. If you want to get a little insight, just Google Uber Elevate. Uber is very big in this. Every major company just about is too. Honeywell, Boeing, all those things. So what they are is essentially overgrown drones. You can put maybe 5 to 8 people in there with a pilot, but they're much more efficient, very low, if any, carbon footprint. The noise is much less. The time is quicker, to spool it up and so on and so forth. It's very efficient, and it's coming.
Is it all electric? So that when it takes off, it stays in electric, and then when it goes, it stays in electric.
Yeah. So one of the prototypes has some rotors that are in the tail that come up and act as the vertical part. They fold down, then the wing ones fly it. The energy is getting it up in the air and getting it forward momentum. That's the most energy. And the challenge there is the weight of the battery. So one of the concepts that Boeing has been working on is a vehicle that lifts off, begins to fly, and the big part of the battery drops off and flies home like a drone. Okay, so you reduce the weight, maintain your efficiency. I'm telling you, if you Google some of this, it's really crazy, some of it. But when I say it's coming fast. Uber.
Is it coming in the personal airplane world, or is it?
It's one of those things that I think is going to take off in many different directions. The articles that I've read in these different magazines liken it to the only two things they can draw a parallel to is the automobile or the cell phone, the way it's transformed people's lives. And if you think of the cell phone, it started out as a simple flip phone and so on. Now we've got everything on there. We have maps, we have cameras, we have everything. So this technology, I think, is going to start in certain areas, and it's going to grow rapidly. And you're going to see it commercial, you're going to see it personal. You don't necessarily need an airport for this.
Right.
You could do this in a fairly large parking lot.
Yeah, right.
A schoolyard, whatever,
exactly.
Size type thing. So when you think of that,
and then include the fact that drones are going to be delivering packages and food to you personally. They're going to be flying around.
So picture for our market here, let's assume that technology is in place and moving rapidly. Maybe Hyannis isn't the spot.
We're clear to cross Echo, Tom.
Roger that. It may be another location on the other side of one of the bridges. Right. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the airport.
Exactly.
If you think
you can go anywhere, almost to any town.
Exactly. And so I always ask the question, where are the people that are coming over on the boat? Where are they coming from? They don't all live in Hyannis.
Right.
So where do the majority live? And maybe we target an area there. And where do most of the people want to go that are leaving the island? Are they going right to Hyannis, or are they going to another destination? Let's find that out and provide them that service.
How far off do you think something like this could be?
So there's people that are saying it's way off. Honestly, I believe it's a 3 to 5 year.
Wow, that's soon.
If you look at this Uber Elevate, they began Uber Copter in New York. And they started out with a handful of flights, and it has grown tremendously. And that's with a helicopter.
They're doing Uber Copter?
Between Kennedy and downtown Manhattan. They're doing it with a helicopter.
And that's a carbon-driven.
Carbon, and it takes time, and it's expensive.
Right.
If you can put this technology there, you reduce the cost significantly, you reduce the carbon footprint, the time gets condensed.
Exactly. Just think, let's say Westchester County. Perfect example. How many people drive to Hyannis in their carbon-driven cars? Imagine if they could get on an electric vehicle that flies them directly to here with no carbon.
When you start thinking about the possibilities and the opportunities, it is amazing. You could go from one end of the island to the other. It's these are designed for. They're not. And as I say, the typical aircraft today is not necessarily designed and not economically viable in short hops. Right. These things could be.
Right. That's really cool. I didn't even know about that one. I'm going to look at that.
And Noah and I have been participating on a national level in a lot of discussions with this.
How are you doing that? How does that?
We're members of a national organization called the American Association of Airport Executives, and they have various workshops, and we interact with them. I was at a conference for another organization, National Business Aircraft Association, a few months ago, and they had prototypes on the floor of these eVTOLs.
eVTOL.
If you just look it up on the internet, and you will see videos, and it's amazing technology.
That's great.
So, will it happen in 3 to 5 years? We'll see. Once it starts, it's going to be like any other technological advancement. It's going to grow rapidly.
Exactly. We're right on the cusp of losing cars to electric vehicles too.
Yeah. So, the electric.
You want me to move up these? I don't let them know if your radio's not.
I think this radio died.
Oh,
yeah? We're good to head back to the north ramp, and then we'll just stay on the ramp.
Okay.
Thanks.
Down the full length of the ramp.
All right, so here's some peripheral areas that the
these are some of our tenants. We have the post office here.
Yeah.
This area, Wiggins uses to fly UPS flights, and we also have Cape Air delivering newspapers. The freight hangar, we're going to be putting that out. We have to put it out for an opportunity because the lease is up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's going to come up?
It is, but we want to make it as economically viable as possible. We're trying to stimulate the freight because, again, the boat's really doing a bang-up job on the freight, but there's some air freight needs. But we also understand that maybe you can't just make that as a loan, so we might use that as a multi-use facility or something.
So most of the UPS packages that come here and the FedEx, are they coming over by plane?
Yeah, FedEx unloading an airplane right now. And
So you got something off of Amazon, it's coming by
well, no,
plane?
it's coming by ground as well.
Oh, okay.
It's a mix.
It's a mix, I see.
But FedEx does quite a business, and UPS as well.
But nowhere near the amount that land
Right.
using
Yeah, the
land.
trucks that are coming.
The trucks are-
Yep, on the boat.
Okay.
So again, we have a number of tenants, number of hangars. We recently put out what's called a request for expression of interest for development of a hangar, and we have an individual that's interested in building a fairly large hangar,
Okay.
and we're all for that. There's a list of people that would like to be in there, so
Would it be just a private?
yeah, it'd be private, but
Yep.
you can sublease it out to others.
I see.
Because there are, again,
that's
there's demand here. So
Yeah.
and it's beginning to be year-round demand for hangar space. So
I mean, could anybody like come to you and say, I want a hangar, and I don't have to do something based in aviation? Can it be? Can
no,
you do that?
if it's a non-aeronautical, my understanding is we have to go through a separate procurement process.
I see.
As an aeronautical use, it's a little different. If there's a number of people interested, we have to go through a public process. If there's only one, we have, I believe, the ability to negotiate with them. This is our seasonal hold room. We took the canvas off. It's essentially 2 tents.
Yep.
But it has helped tremendously in accommodating the passengers in the summer. As you may recall, we had serious challenges with the queue line at TSA. And part of what we worked with them on last winter, we said, we'll put this in if you take care of the rest of the screening, add people, get a pre-check type lane, change your equipment schedule, et cetera, et cetera. And the airline said, and we'll put the flights in. So it worked very well. We're going to be improving that a little bit next year. We also have a major project coming up in the terminal. We're revamping our entire security system. That project, the first phase of it has been awarded, and that will be done by the end of the spring.
Why do we need to do that?
The system is outdated. All 3 elements of it, the access control, the badging, and our cameras. And the software is extremely old. You can't even get updates to it. So it's just time to revamp the entire system. Now that's a little unique project in that we may not get a full 90% funding, but we should get at least 50 to 60%, and ultimately over time we may get enough back to get up to the 90+%. So.
And the reason why we need the security for that when we don't need the security to go to Hyannis is why?
Well, there's different levels of security, and security screening is required by TSA regulations, and that's based on the size airplane. So when you're going to Hyannis on a 9-seat aircraft, it's not required. It's a different level.
Okay.
Same with the private over here. But that's just the security screening. We do have access control, which is a level of security that's required over here. We have cameras that we need over here. So there's, again, it's just different levels of security in what the both FAA and TSA mandate.
How many airplanes can this area fit?
It all depends on size.
Yeah.
We've
On an
counted upwards,
average day
maybe
in the summer?
60 or so.
60 or so? Yeah.
We've had 40 small airplanes out on the grass. And again, depends on size. And that's where they do a very great job at, putting what I'll call the Lear jets, smaller jets over here. And this is called the big boy row.
The big boy, you got the big boys, you got the...
and then back here you have a mix of everything.
Do jets need to be separated from propeller planes?
They don't need to be, But obviously when they're firing up, there's different operational things you have to do. So we do a lot of towing and tugging of airplanes. And it's essentially like a valet parking for your...
What about the personal airplane? You said that seems to be getting...
Well, define personal for...
Oh, the guy who has his own plane, like a two-seater or something even smaller.
No, see, Gino, you say that, and that's what a lot of folks think.
Yeah.
We have personal airplanes that are Falcon 900, $60 million jets.
I know
okay?
it. So, exactly.
The smaller aircraft, we have a row in the back that we have tie downs for, and then they overflow onto this grass area here.
Okay.
The smaller 4-seat, 6-seat type,
Right.
piston type airplanes.
Right.
But as I said, we literally have a number of private tie-down airplanes. Some of them are in the $4 million range, and are beautiful aircraft. So
back when I was a kid, it was popular to fly an ultralight. Are there still people doing that kind of stuff?
I believe there are.
They don't do them on Nantucket.
No, there's limitations here on Nantucket.
Are you allowed to keep an ultralight here?
I don't believe so. I have to double check our rules, but
I see.
We have a difficult enough mix of airplanes from, like I said, from a Cessna 172 up to a G6 or an E190 JetBlue.
Right.
That mix is very challenging on a small airport like this.
Yeah.
We have heavy traffic and high volumes. It's
I watched this guy my son was watching him. He turned me on to him. He's only 14. This guy took basically a parachute with an engine on his back.
A rocket man.
But a parachute, and it was a parachute kind of paraglider type thing, but it had its own, you strapped on like a knapsack. The engine was the propeller.
Yeah.
And the kid would go make these incredible trips across, from like Chicago to Denver,
Wow.
And then he would stop in different... No kidding.
I wouldn't do it. Here's that jet we were looking at.
Oh, look at that thing. I would love... I'm gonna find out what that is.
It's a neat little personal jet. When we pull up, I'll double check with Noah. I'm sure he'll know the name.
Okay.
That's the type of thing that
That I could live with. That would be nice for my lifestyle, right there. No doubt. Especially if it has a parachute. I'd feel a lot safer.
That is a
Look at that.
interesting.
Did you go inside? Have you been inside?
No, I haven't been in that one. No.
It looks like it's what, 6-seater?
About 4 seats, maybe
4?
in the back. I have 4 in the back and pilot, co-pilot.
Do you have to have a co-pilot in a jet?
It depends on what regulation you're operating under.
I see.
If you're carrying people for hire, I believe you do in a jet.
Okay.
But 9-seat, as you see, Cape Air, they're not required to have them.
So you can have your own jet and just drive it yourself?
Yeah.
Do we get a lot of celebrities coming here?
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to tell you I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure we do. And that's the beauty of Nantucket. We treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our staff, they know that people were very popular.
They come walking through. Yeah.
They come here to relax and just
Exactly.
So we give them their anonymity, whatever they want. I've seen a number of different ones come through, and it's nice people.
Right.
We just try to provide everybody the same level of service.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me pull up next to him. I'll just verify what type of jet that was.
I've got to go do another interview, by the way, too.
Okay.
Are we in good shape?
Yeah.
Well, that was really good, Tom.
Thanks.
Really, it's cool looking.
I can get out here. You can just
All
go
right.
up to that gate.
You got
let
it.
you out.
All right.
I'll make sure
You got it.
Have a
Thanks.
Happy holiday.
Happy
Merry
holiday.
Christmas.
You got it.
See ya.
You too. Thanks, Noah.
See you, Gino. You bet. Happy to be part of the team.
I know it. I'm glad you're here, man. Out at the airport now for good. Good. Love it.
Yeah,
Keep him around. He's helping you out.
You gonna take him up to the gate?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Take care, Gino.
See you, Tom.
Thanks.